Alright, so continuing on with our discussion of broad data types in JavaScript, we're now going to look at arrays and objects. Okay, so our first example here is an array. So I'm going to create an array. I'm going to call it ARR1, so like array 1. And we're going to set that equal to a series of numbers. So arrays are defined with square brackets. And then close it and hit enter. So now if we call that object, it basically stores 7 numeric values. Note that you can't mix and match characters and numbers. They have to be just one or the other. So it's an array of numbers, an array of character strings. Okay, indexes for arrays. So JavaScript starts indexing at 0 as opposed to 1. So if you call array 1 position 1, that's actually going to be 4 as opposed to 3, because 3 is at position 0. Sorry, 0. So position 0. So there's 7 elements, so if we called index 7, there's nothing there because it's 0 through 6 as opposed to 1 through 7. So if we call 6, then that's at position 7, so 11. Okay, so that's an array. Again, you could do the same thing, but with characters. So we could do A, B, 1 is a character, C, 2 is a character. So that returns back our character. And again, we could grab an index. Let's do at location 3. So that's C, right? So 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's an array. So now let's look at JavaScript object. So you'll get really used to seeing JavaScript objects as you work through the mapping exercises and whatnot, because you generally store a lot of parameters and data in like an object notation. So you'll see a lot of this. Since this is multi-line, it's kind of hard to produce in the browser here, so I'm just going to open up a plain text editor and then dump it in. Okay, so I'm going to do var, and we're going to call this, I'm just going to use the example from the slide, so we'll do course. And in contrast to an array, a JavaScript object is defined within square brackets as opposed to, or sorry, curly brackets as opposed to square brackets, which again are used for an array. So then we're going to put some stuff in here. All right, sorry, let's move in some stuff around. Okay, so objects hold properties, and properties are made up of name-value pairs. So this first object, or this first property, is going to be the code associated with the class. So this is going to be geog, comma, and now we're going to move on to the next property, which is going to be the course number. And I'm going to do 456. Note that that's going to be treated like a number as opposed to a string because I didn't put it in quotes. And then the name of the course, which is remote sensing applications. Close the string. And then just to close it, we'll put a semicolon at the end there. Okay, so we should have this object, which is a JavaScript object called course that has 3 properties. So again, the properties are made up of name-value pair. So code's the name, geog's the value, number's the name, 456 is the value, name is name, and then the remote sensing applications is the value. So now if I dump that in, and let it execute, we'll just call course, and that spits back all components of that object. If you wanted to pull out a subset of the object, there's a couple of different ways to do it. One option is to simply call it by its name. So if we did code, that's going to spit back the code, which is geog. If we did name, it's going to spit back the course name. You can also do it by index. So if you wanted to do 0, oh, actually maybe you can't do it by index. Actually, I guess you can't. Yeah, so do it by the name field. All right, so that's an object. Let's talk about Booleans. Booleans are sometimes confusing because people think that they are just characters, but they actually are unique. So Booleans are logically true, logically false. And in JavaScript, they're just typed in as lowercase true, lowercase false, without any quotes. If you put in quotes, it's going to be considered a string. So if we do, let's call it B1 is equal to true, that's going to be the Boolean true as opposed to the word true. And you'll see a lot of that as output. For example, if we do like if-else statements to try to do like control flow.